that really terribly painful, horrible place of having been in a relationship with somebody with BPD or still trying to be, having been married, maybe having had kids with somebody with BPD, whether that's a woman with BPD or a man with BPD. And it's harder for men, in a way, who have children with a woman with BPD, especially untreated. But there's so much to learn, right, to understand BPD, and people are out there working on that for sure. Aren't you? Know, you're all going everywhere, all over the place, and BPD seems like a really relationships and people with codependency with people with BPD, it seems like a really saturated area online, doesn't it? Well, it's unfortunately saturated in an echo chamber kind of way with a lot of misinformation. And a lot of people who are struggling in these relationships, writing to each other and sharing, whether on YouTube channels or, those, platforms where people do that kind of stuff. Sometimes you can be getting really good information, yes, and sharing stuff, and you relate to so-and-so and they relate to you, and you relate to all these comments, but still, whether you think you understand it all now and you're still trying and you still have that false hope and you still aren't looking at codependency and you still think, well, I'm not a codependent because, and fill in the blank. People who are in relationships with people with borderline personality disorder are codependent and only have 35 years experience. And not everybody is to say that with, but not everybody who's got codependency has it the same, right? It's like everybody with BPD isn't the same. But there are core patterns to both. But what I just wanted to say a little bit about here again, because it's not like I've never talked about this before, but I really wanted to bring it out in the open again to ask you to really think for yourself, right? This isn't like, if you want to leave a reply in a video or something, sometimes I have videos where it's crickets and whatever, and there's a lot of videos across the channel aggregate that continue to get comments, and I don't know what the difference is. And it doesn't matter. But why are you still fighting so hard? That no matter what this person with BPD has done to you, how many ways they've abused you, they've neglected you, they've taken you for granted, they have no gratitude for all that you're giving them, perhaps what you're giving them not only emotionally, in empathy and compassion and understanding, and the benefit of the doubt over and over, and maybe forgiving them, but just trying to catch up to what's going on. And financially, for a lot of people, the person with BPD is draining you like one way or the other. Are you dragging yourself up in the morning because you spent half the night in a jade, justify, argue, defend, explain conversation with your borderline the night before? Are you having trouble concentrating at work? Are you feeling like a nervous wreck? Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you either eating too much or not eating enough? Or you started drinking like a ton more and maybe you never drank or you didn't have a problem? Are you now are you on 3 psych meds now and you think that that's healthy for you? What's going on with so many people out there that just can't realize that to get out of the agony of a BPD relationship, it's gonna hurt more in the beginning? I mean, that's a terrible thing to have to say, but it's true. It will hurt more in the beginning when you're trying to break that trauma bond and the fantasy bond and the betrayal bond. When you're trying to find out, who are you? Who am I anymore? People are losing themselves, losing identity, losing self-esteem, losing self-worth, self-trust, self-confidence, everything about yourself. Going down the tubes, having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, freaking out, just ruminating to the point where people just they don't even know how to, they're not getting through the days, really. I mean, you're barely surviving. Now, how do you think you might be mirroring borderline traits now? It doesn't mean you have BPD or really have the traits, but all this agony that people are in, and you can't just walk away. No, you can't. Because even when people do, why am I so busy? Why have I been busy for 35 years out here working with people with 30 years online? Because people need help to be able to get out of a borderline personality disorder relationship and all that means, and what, the trauma bond, and with your codependency, whether you have it mildly, moderately, or severely, and you don't even want to think you have it, can you answer this question for yourself? Everything's going on that goes on in most of these relationships with your person with BPD. And like every other day, or like maybe not, maybe like 3 times a month, maybe 5 times a month, maybe 5 times a day, whatever the case, they're either withdrawing from you, or they are screaming and yelling at you and throwing things, and they'll act out anywhere on a dime. And you're like, what? Like nothing happened. See, because it happens inside of them. You don't trigger them, they get triggered. There's a big difference. And when they get triggered, you might have been out to dinner, you're sitting in a restaurant, everything's fine, and all of a sudden they're making a big scene and whatever. You could be home at your dinner table and same thing, or you could just be watching a movie, or you might have a long distance relationship and you're on the phone or you're FaceTiming or whatever, like on the internet with them. And isn't that wonderful? And like, but no, because all of a sudden everything isn't fine. All of a sudden everything's upside down. What happened? What? Why? And you think about this. You still take a responsibility for that? You still trying to change that? You still trying to rescue them and assure them that everything's okay? And well, whatever they're saying you did that you probably didn't do anyways, but you're saying like, well, I'm sorry and I won't do it again. How's that going to fix a problem when you didn't do it in the first place? And if you're sorry for what you didn't do, how's that fix anything? And they're rarely ever sorry for anything that they've done because they're not aware. So many people with BPD are hurting. Each and every one of you out there, if you're watching this video or you go buy some of my content or whatever, they're hurting you so badly. And no, they often don't understand that. Does it seem like they don't care about that part? Well, it's hard for them to care about that part because they're often not even aware of that part. That's right. They're hurting you as badly as they're hurting you. They're hurling horrible words at you. They're yelling and swearing and telling you you did this, that, and the other, most of which is what they've done, and they're projective identification, and now you're bad mommy or bad daddy on top of it all, like unconsciously to the borderline in their repetition compulsion cycles. And you do keep thinking in your mind, don't you? I've had many clients say to me, like nothing happened. Really, nothing happened. I didn't do anything. I don't know why he or she just like, and they went nuts, and they do this all the time. But then the next day, maybe you get a text in the morning after all this chaos and screaming and yelling, if you don't live together, right? You get a text, or if you do, you get a text in the morning, hey babe, how you doing? From that person with BPD was like, you did this and you did that and you're a piece of crap and I can't believe that you, and hurts you very much. Impacts you tremendously because you love and care about this person, and they're saying, what about you now? Oh, and 2, how many times does that borderline in a rage say, and you, and then they say something about you and they say you did something so horrible to them, meanwhile they've really abused you, and you're like, whoa. And then comes the because you, and fill in the blank, whatever you told them that was vulnerable about you. That doesn't make you a bad person or anything, but maybe you shared something really vulnerable about yourself in general. Maybe you have some fear of abandonment, something, or something that happened with your last ex who was like, they weren't a borderline, you've never heard of BPD before, now you're going through all this. And then they just turn around and throw that at you. They just use that against you. Oh, did your person with BPD demand that you prove yourself, that when you look to the left walking down the street one day, it wasn't that gorgeous, if you're a man, it wasn't that gorgeous woman that your BPD female is going nuts about, or that she's convinced you're now cheating with, or if you're a woman and you're walking down the street with your borderline man, and you're like, well, little child inside man's body, borderline man or woman. And did he say to you, oh, you looked over there and that dude, and you can't have any male friends, and what's going on? Or the female borderline says, and why? Why do you talk? You can't talk to any other women. And then that becomes your mother. You can't talk to your mother. You can't talk to your sister. You can't talk to a work colleague. I mean, this is what they'd really like you to not do. What? And then they blame you for everything. And if you're going through this right now, and be honest with yourself, or if you went through it, may not be over it yet. But so many people are still going through it, and they want the borderline back. And the borderline comes a hoovering, and boom, people are back. What are you doing? Have you ever thought about, I know it's so painful when they do this to you, they abuse you and all, and then you as a good codependent, you feel so like you did this to them, and oh my goodness, and I don't want them to feel bad, and you end up apologizing for you didn't even do anything, but you're apologizing for like whatever. And meanwhile, they do a ton and they're not apologizing for anything. And by the way, an apology from a person with BPD acting out all the time, abusing you, dragging you through jade conversations, projecting all over you, who can't even see you, and it's all about them. If they do apologize to you, what on earth does it change for you? So anyway, this video is just an attempt at getting people to think a little bit differently, because all this BPD relationship recycling, all this off and on, I'm ghosted, we're back, okay. It's just taking you in one sort of swirling slowly down toward a drain. It's going to be the emptying out of you and the loss of yourself. Kind of a loop, kind of a cycle, sort of like pattern situation. You're not getting anywhere. You just need that feeling. The borderline comes back, they hoover, whatever, you argue some more, and then it's great for like the intermittent reinforcement part of like sometimes really short periods of time, and usually not very long period of time. And then it's off to the races again, kaboom! And like, do you know what this is doing to your nervous system? Do you understand? Because I need to say more about that, but I'll tell you, what's happening to people who are in relationships and on, off, recycling with borderlines, your nervous system is getting worn out. It's getting shot. You're getting into fight, flight, or freeze spawn. And what happened in your childhood? Because this is probably not your first time with fight, flight, or freeze spawn as a response to adverse experience or trauma. Why do you think you keep hanging in there to fight your way back to this person over and over and over again, to just experience the same ruptures and breakdowns over and over again, to want the same kind of like admission out of your borderline about what they did when they don't have a clue, and they can't give it to you. They won't, or if some of them have a clue, they won't. So this video might not be very, well, none of mine are very popular, whatever. But like, it might not be what you want to hear, but it's an honest question. Because I've been working with clients for 30 years online, 35 in general, but like, and people trying to break the trauma bond with people with BPD or NPD, or like, it could be a parent and a partner. It could be a sibling. It could be like a person that's your neighbor. It could be somebody that a friend, or somebody that's not really the best friend in the world, but you're trying, So any kind of relationship recycling, any kind of you're not taking the ultimate care of yourself to break these patterns and cycles, that yes, that's part of your codependency, as it's all about their borderline personality disorder. What's in the middle in that relating, especially with somebody who's untreated with BPD, but what does a little bit of treated mean? Because it doesn't really mean a whole lot. Anyway, I won't keep going in circles here. I just want to say, are you thinking more deeply? And people really need to reach out. I mean, I'm out here to work with you if I resonate with you, but you need to reach out to somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And I'm not talking about the coachies online, because wow, I hear a lot of things about that. I get a lot of clients that come from various ones of those, and they are really, really hurt, and they've been re-traumatized. So be very careful who you choose to work with. But the other thing is, choose to work with somebody, because these situationships, this horrible kind of like what it does to your nervous system, let alone your emotions and yourself, kind of like the relationship and all that goes awry with it, and how it's never really okay with a person with BPD. I mean, maybe the idealization phase was fantastic, but the second that starts to end, there's really no more. It's like the good is so good and the bad is so bad, but it's always bouncing back and forth between. What are you doing to yourself? Why do you think you care more about this other person who doesn't even know who they are, and you don't know who they are. You're in love with a fragmented shard of a smashed ego of a human being who once in a while can give you that really good. And the rest of it's bad. It's traumatic. It's abusive. Why do you think it's so compelling for you? Why do you think you won't take that action to get into therapy, to help yourself, to be able to break the fantasy aspect of the trauma bond and break the trauma bond and realize that the chaos and drama of a borderline relationship has nothing whatsoever to do with love? So who are you loving? What did you experience in your childhood? What part of your mom or dad does this borderline remind you of? Have you ever thought of it that way? Anyway, so many people out there so determined to make these relationships work. Why do you think that is? How do you justify that to yourself? Do you even think of yourself anymore?